Daniel provides more information.
Then the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdoms under the whole heaven shall be given to the people, the saints of the Most High. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Daniel 7:27.
Apparently the Jeffersonian formula we Americans tend to take as the ideal, government of the people, by the people, and for the people, is off the mark just a tad. The millennial government will be of Yahweh, by Yahshua, and for his saints. Yahshua told his disciples,
You are those who have continued with me in my trials, and I bestow upon you a kingdom, just as my Father bestowed one upon me, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Luke 22:28-30.
The saints won't be passive bystanders in the kingdom, but active participants. The prophet Micah speaks of these days as well.
Now it shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills.
Yahshua's physical throne will be situated in Jerusalem, located in the hills of Judea. Here we see that the elevation is not only geographical, but metaphorical as well. His house shall be exalted.
And people shall flow to it. Many nations shall come and say, Come, and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, and we shall walk in his paths. For out of Zion the law shall go forth, and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. Micah 3:1-2.
Remember, most of the millennial mortals will have little or no religious training. Like Abraham, their faith, not their knowledge or righteousness, has brought them to the place of blessing. Yahweh must like the neighborhood. He arranged to make his entrance in his first-century advent only a few miles away.
But you, Bethlehem Ephratah, though you are little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of you shall come forth to me the one to be ruler in Israel, whose goings forth are from of old, from everlasting.
Why Bethlehem? The town was so close to Jerusalem it was, according to Edersheim, used as the exclusive source of sacrificial lambs for the temple worship, despite a generalized rabbinical ban on sheep herding in the surrounding countryside. It seems Yahweh was willing to play along with the first-century priestly prejudice that there really was only one place to get a proper lamb for the atonement sacrifice: Bethlehem, the town where David had been born. Micah goes on to predict,
And he shall stand and feed his flock in the strength of Yahweh, in the majesty of the name of Yahweh his God, and they shall abide, for now he shall be great to the ends of the earth. Micah 5:2-4.
As we have seen, Messiah operates in the strength and majesty of Yahweh because he is Yahweh, Emmanuel, God with us. As Yahshua assumes the throne in Zion, it will become apparent to all that
the earth is Yahweh's, and all its fullness, the world and those who dwell therein. For he has founded it upon the seas, and established it upon the waters.
The Messiah owns the earth because he is its creator. We owe him our love because he made us. Man's harebrained theories about the complexities of life evolving spontaneously without plan or direction will be exposed for the foolishness they are when Yahshua explains to us precisely how he founded the world and why.
Who may ascend into the hill of Yahweh, or who may stand in his holy place? He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who has not lifted up his soul to an idol, nor sworn deceitfully.
Oops! None of us have clean hands or a pure heart. We have all lifted up our souls to idols one way or another. Fortunately, God provides what we lack.
He shall receive blessing from Yahweh, and righteousness from the God of his salvation. This is Jacob, the generation of those who seek him, who seek your face. Selah.
There's the key. The requisite clean hands and pure hearts are the righteousness that God provides for us. These are the blessings from Yahweh that bring us into His presence, and getting us back into His presence has been the whole point of everything God has done since the 3rd chapter of Genesis.
Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be lifted up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is this King of glory? Yahweh, strong and mighty, Yahweh, mighty in battle. Lift up your heads, O you gates, lift up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is this King of glory? Yahweh of hosts, He is the King of glory. Selah. Psalm 24, 7-10.
We are used to taking these verses personally, as we should, inviting the King of Glory to come in and abide within us. But we should not forget they are also a literal description of a literal king assuming his literal throne. This will actually happen. And lest we lapse into provincial modes of thinking, Paul informs us that the reign of the Messiah is universal, not just over the earth, but over all of creation.
In the dispensation of the fullness of the times, God purposed to gather together in one all things in Christ, both which are in heaven and which are on earth, in Him. Ephesians 1:10.
Paul then told the believers at Ephesus that he prayed that God would give them enlightenment so they could understand
what is the exceeding greatness of His power toward us who believe, according to the working of His mighty power, which He worked in Christ when He raised Him from the dead, and seated Him at His right hand in the heavenly places, far above all principality, and power, and might, and dominion, and every name that is named, not only in this age, but also in that which is to come. Ephesians 1:19-21.
Yahshua's reign, in other words, exists over not only people on this earth, but over the spiritual realm as well, not just in time as we know it, but in boundless eternity. Strangely, I don't have too much trouble comprehending the mighty power required to raise the crucified Christ from the dead and seat Him at His rightful place on the throne of God in heaven and on earth. What I have a tough time getting a handle on is the idea that the saints will participate in His glory. But Paul swears it's true.
The Spirit Himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God, and if children, then heirs, heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ, if indeed we suffer with Him, that we may also be glorified together. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. Romans 8:16-18.
I'm supposed to come up with a thoughtful, scholarly response at this point, but all I can say is, wow. A recurring dream for the human race is a world without war. Will and Ariel Durant once calculated that in almost 3,500 years of recorded history, there have been only 268 years without war. And I figure that during most of that time there were wars going on being fought between groups that didn't write down what they were doing. Wars invariably start because Party A wants something that Party B is not willing to give them. It could be land or material wealth, but it's just as often freedom from tyranny or the simple right to live in peace. There is always at least one guilty party, sometimes many. Some utopian idealists have hypothesized that if there were no weapons, wars would cease. But human nature begs to differ. Cain, presumably, slew Abel either with his bare hands or with a weapon of opportunity, a rock or a stick. He didn't need a gun, a knife, or a bomb, only a bad attitude. As long as unregenerate man walks the earth, he will attack his brother. Weapons are optional. That being said, a part of Yahweh's peace process is ridding the world of weapons, starting with Israel herself, for whom they are the height of superfluity, with Yahshua in the neighborhood.
I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the horse from Jerusalem. The battle bow shall be cut off. He shall speak peace to the nations. His dominion shall be from sea to sea, and from the rivers to the ends of the earth. Zechariah 9:10.
Disarmament follows peace, not the other way around. The psalmist writes,
Come, behold the works of Yahweh, who has made desolations in the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Psalm 46, 8-10.
During the millennium, nations won't have to arm themselves for defense. The king will be their shield, and nobody will be able to get away with aggressive national behavior. Thus, weapons are pointless. Isaiah elaborates.
He shall judge between the nations and rebuke many people. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. Isaiah 2:4.
The industrial potential that was formerly squandered on armament will be put to more productive use under Yahshua's reign. Factories will turn out tractors, not tanks. Micah uses the same illustration.
He shall judge between many peoples, and rebuke strong nations afar off. They shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. But every one shall sit under his vine and under his fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid, for the mouth of Yahweh of hosts has spoken. Micah 4:3-4.
Not only will nations not fight anymore, they'll feel so secure they'll forget how. Waging war will become a lost art like thatching roofs or making buggy whips. The reason, of course, is that Yahshua has taken the world's government upon his shoulders.
I will make a covenant of peace with them, and it shall be an everlasting covenant with them. I will establish them and multiply them, and I will set my sanctuary in their midst forevermore. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Indeed, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. The nations also will know that I, Yahweh, sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary is in their midst forevermore. Ezekiel 37:26-28.
Again we see that Messiah will rule from Jerusalem, but his reign will extend beyond Israel to the Gentile nations.
And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, that is, Yahshua, who shall stand as a banner to the people. For the Gentiles shall seek him, and his resting place shall be glorious. Isaiah 11:10.
Like munchkins celebrating the demise of the wicked witch of the West, the inhabitants of earth will rejoice at their tormentor's downfall, and they'll know who deserves the credit for the rescue.
Yahweh, you will establish peace for us, for you have also done all our works in us. O Yahweh our God, masters besides you have had dominion over us, but by you only we make mention of your name. They are dead, and they will not live. They are deceased, they will not rise. Therefore you have punished and destroyed them, and made all their memory to perish. Isaiah 26:12-14.
In this word from Isaiah, the king of Babylon stands in for Satan as God's people celebrate at his expense.
How the oppressor has ceased, the golden city ceased. Yahweh has broken the staff of the wicked, the scepter of the rulers. He who struck the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he who ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted, and no one hinders. The whole earth is at rest and quiet. They break forth into singing. Isaiah 14:4-7.